Now we'll start with the next part, non-religious literature. We have seen about the religious literature, now we'll see about non-religious literature. Literary texts whose content is other than religious are called non-religious literature. Means ऊपर जो हमने देखा था, they were all literary literature where they were written in the religious language. So other than that content are which are written in without religious language are known as non-religious literature. They mostly include poem, dramas, acolytes means parastio, grammar texts, and smritis. So these are not all religious literature. They are as poems, dramas, and all that things. Smritis are Hindu law texts. They include Manusmriti, Valkaya Smriti, and Narad Smriti. Kautilya's Arthashastra is also law text. So these all things are written. A large number of plays and poems were written in ancient India. This include great poets like Mahakavi Bhas, Kalidas, Sudrak, Bhairavi, etc. Among such important epics, Abhigyam Shakuntalam, Raghuvansham, Meghadutam, Kiratarjunam, Swapnavasavdatam, and Mircha Kattikam are included. So these are all plays and poems that were written by the great poets like Kalidas, Mahakavi Bhas, Surdak, and Bhairavi. In South India, a special literature called Sangam literature was composed. It was composed in first 3 centuries. About 1600 folk poets composed heroic poems in 3 sangams in Madurai. In this literature, Shilpadikaram, Mani Mehakalai are very important. Best grammar text in Sanskrit is Pinni Ashtadhyayi, which was composed in 5th century BC. Now in south side, if you'll go and see, South India side, this special literature like Sangam literature was composed, and it was composed in first 3 centuries. Now 1600 poems were composed at that time, and they were in Shilpadakarim and Mani Mehalkar. Among them, Mani Mekalai were important things. Now, grammar text was written in Sanskrit and it was known as Ashtadhyayi, which was composed in 5th century. Ashoka's inscription also inform us about administration during Mauryan emperor and ethical rules of Buddhist religion of ancient India. Now we have seen about Ashoka inscriptions which were written. So that were also considered to be the important rules of Buddhist literature. Citizen poetry and text developed greatly during Gupta age. Harisan was writer of Samudragupta's Prayag Prashti. Virsen Sabha was the writer of Prashasti of Chandragupta II of Udaygiri. Bana has praised Harsh in Harsh Charitra. So these were some poems written during Gupta age, and the writers as well as the poet on whom they have written is been mentioned in this poem. So this was about the non-religious literature, means apart from the religion language, it was written for poet, drama, etc. Now we'll see about description by foreign travelers. Many foreign tourists have been coming to India since centuries who have written their travelogue. So foreign countries से लोग आते थे, they used to visit India, they used to see India, and they used to write in their travelogue also. This travelogue gives us information about Indian culture and life of people. So in that they have mentioned about the Indian culture and how the Indian life of the people has been there. Among such travelers, Greek ambassador Megasthenes, who lived in the court of Chandragupta Maurya, is very important. And Megasthenes, who has visited India, he was a Greek ambassador, and he has visited Chandragupta Maurya. He has written an excellent book named Indica, from which we get information about the Mauryan age. Similarly, a book written by Greek sailor Ptolemy about geography gives us information about ports of India. They have written all these things. Whatever they have visited in India, they have written in their travelogue, so that the one who reads can get the clear idea about it. Fian, a Chinese traveler who came at the time of Chandragupta II, and the Chinese traveler Hunsang, who came at the time of Emperor Harshvardhan, has given a unique description of Indian social life, rulers, and culture of that time. The Chinese traveler Fiang and Hunsang, they have written about the Indian lifestyle, about the rulers, about the cultures of that time in their own language, in their travel log. So this was all about the religious part. Now we'll move about trades and new routes. Traders' new routes. In ancient times, India was quite well developed in trade and commerce and trading of various commodities with foreign countries. India's prosperity was at peak due to trade. Trading was done through land routes and sea routes. Lothal was the major port of Harappan civilization. At Lothal, a carriage, dockyard, and warehouse have been found which provide us information about sea transport. Now we know that India was quite well developed in the form of trade and commerce. We know that, and they used to work with the they used to do the trading with the foreign countries also, and it has reached to its peak. Now Lothal, we have learned about Harappan civilization about Lothal, right? It has a very great dockyard and warehouse where this transportations has been carried out. People of Lothal used to make various potteries, utensils, and various kinds of jewelries. Trading was done of beads made from oysters and ivory. Indian species and condiments and precious stones were in great demand. So Lothal people, we have learned about them that they used to make various utensils also, various kinds of jewelries also. Beadwork was also taken into demand. Indian spices commodities were also in great demand at that time. Cotton, silk, and spices were exported to Europe via Central Asia through the international port like Kambhat, Bharuch, Sopara, and Tamrali Piti. Cotton textiles, silk textiles, spices, cinnamons, timber were exported to east and west part of the world, while gold, silver, and other items were imported. So these were the things that were being exported and some things that were being imported. Many people used to travel from China to the remote areas on foot and on horseback. They used to travel from China on the foot or on the horseback to India. They used to carry silk cloth with them. The route they traveled was known as Silk Route. So they used to bring silk cloth with them. So it was known as the route they were passing by was known as Silk Route at that time. The merchants of mainly China, India, Iran, Arabistan, Greece, and Rome were associated with this trade. So they were doing the trade of silk at that time. These all countries. Now, paintings in ancient India. How were the paintings? Pictures are special medium which express the emotion of human beings. At the same time, it portrays the actual situation of that time. So, at that time, paintings were considered to be the most important thing because they used to express the emotions of the human being. And looking at that portrait, we used to come to know about the actual situation of that period. In India, the oldest painting have been found in the Neolithic era. More than 500 paintings of Neolithic age drawn by primitive man have been found in Madhya Pradesh from a place called Bhimbetka, which look lively even today. We have learned this chapter, and I have told you that these people, Neolithic age people, they used to do the paintings on the wall, which would look very real. They used to keep their emotions, they used to draw their emotions, and more than 500 paintings have been found out and near Bhimbetka. It is in Madhya Pradesh. They even look lively today, that as if it is live only. Other than this, paintings of Ajanta Ellora, Bhag caves, and Amravati associated with Indian culture have been found in large numbers. Paintings of Ajanta Ellora are world famous, which depict Buddha Jatak stories and Buddha sadhana. World famous painting Padma Pani is the jewel of Indian culture, while Shiva temple of Ellora caves is a great sculpture carved out of a single massive rock. So these were some of the paintings that are being found out from Ajanta, Ellora, Bhag caves, and they depict the stories, Jatak stories and Buddha sadhana stories they have painted on the walls. And it is they also have painted Shiv temple of Ellora is a great sculpture carved out of a massive rock. They have made a Shiv temple with one rock only. Shiv temple of Ellora caves has been made. Sculptures and architecture of ancient India. Town planning seen in Harappan civilization is world-renowned model of Indian architecture. Uniformity in town, baths, granaries, industrial units and harvesting of rainwater, etc. are the structures associated with Harappan civilization, which are the best example of engineering of ancient India. Now, how the architecture work, how the sculptures are being made in ancient India by the people is been given in this paragraph. So we have learned about Harappan civilization town planning, right? Baths, granaries, industrial units, harvesting of rainwater, etc. is been very well organized and very well made. Structures have been made, and they are considered to be the best example of engineering work. This architecture includes cave architecture, temple architecture, and architecture of places. Cave architecture includes hills of Barbar, Nasik Hills, Ajanta, Ellora and Amravati. So these are some cave architectures which are been associated, which are been built very nicely at that time. In sculptures, art of making idols was fully developed in India. Idols were made, murtikar, okay? Two art styles of idol art were prevalent in ancient India, that is Gandhar art and other style. Okay, the Gandhar art. What is Gandhar? So, which was a confluence of the Greek and Indian style. A number of artifacts that have been found in Takshashila and Gandhar in Afghanistan in northwestern India. Buddha statue were made in large number, and in Gandhar style they have made the Buddha statue in large number. Buddha ki idol they used to make. Large statues of Buddha have been found in Bamiyan and Charsoda in this style. Other style is completely Indian, which is known as Mathura style. So one was Gandhar and other one was Mathura style, which was completely Indian style. It was based on Indian, so they used to create Indian sculptures. In it also firstly Buddha statues were made. पहले उसमें भी बुद्धा के स्टेचूज बनाते थे, बट आफ्टर दैट स्लोली दे स्टार्टेड मेकिंग आइडल्स ऑफ हिंदू डाइटीज विच वेर ऑल्सो मेड इन दिस स्टाइल. सो उसके बाद धीरे धीरे हिंदू भगवान के आइडल्स दे यूज टू स्टार्ट मेकिंग. एंड स्पेसिमेंस ऑफ स्कल्पचर्स हैव बीन ऑल्सो फाउंड फ्रॉम. उसके भी स्पेसिमेन एग्जाम्पल्स वी कैन सी फ्रॉम अमरावती, अजंता, नासिक एंड सारनाथ. Now, what are stupas and viharas? Architecture of Buddhism includes stupas, chaityas, and viharas. After the nirvana of Gautam Buddha, the monumental construction of his life began in the form of stupa. These stupa were made for the first time during Vaji Union. The stupa is small dome-shaped architecture in the middle of which the relics of Buddha were buried, and the Buddhists practiced meditation there. Later on, stupas were constructed in India in a large number, among which Ashoka Sanchi Stupa, Stupa of Lumbini, and Stupa of Sarnath were very important. Now we have learned about the Gautam Buddha, right? So after he got the nirvana, after he attained the nirvana, तो उसके बाद से ये stupa were been constructed. Like so they have constructed stupa in small dome shaped, means oval shape also, where they used to bury in the middle of that they used to bury it, and Buddhists were doing their meditation. Later on, stupas were constructed in India in large number, and some of the stupas are also given which were very important at that time. The emperors after Ashoka also maintained the tradition of stupa construction. They continued with this procession. The kings of Sung dynasty started construction of wooden work around stupas. Kaniksha got a huge stupa constructed in Purushpur, which is called Shahji Ki Deri. तो किंग शांग डायनेस्टी में जो किंग था, ही यूज टू स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन द वुडन वर्क and wooden stupas he used to make, and which was known as Shahji Ki Deri. There is a Pradakshina part around the stupas. Pradakshina means घूमना उसके आजू बाजू. Chaitya also are a major centers of Buddhist art. Like caves, Chaitya were caved in mountains. In caves of Chaityas, columns, doors, huge prayer halls, etc. were carved and were given the shape of temple. There were all these things in that mountain, Chaitya mountain. Mountain means से उसको carve किया था and they used to make them in the shape of temple. They were used as a place of prayers. The columns were finely carved. Chaityas of Amravati, Baj, and Karal have become world famous. The caves were made by carving mountains from Buddhist and Jain monks, which are called viharas. मतलब के they were made to do the rest. Buddhists and monks they used to do rest over there, and so they have made this viharas over there. Viharas means to rest. Jain and Buddhist monks studied in these viharas. Huinsang noted that there were hundreds of viharas in North India and Gujarat. Statues and monuments are associated with Jain architecture also. Jain statue of Gomteshwar in Shravan Belguda is world famous. A number of caves have been made in for living of Jain monks and Buddhist bhikshu. Many such type of caves are located in Gujarat. Get information from them about them from your teachers. The many such information. Jain architecture was also considered, and Jain statues were also being made at that time, and they were all located in Gujarat. So this was all about stupas and viharas over there. See heritage in education. Looking at the extension of Harappan civilization and their developed town planning, it can be said that higher education and technical education has been imparted in India since 4000 years. Remains of educational institutions have been found from Mohenjo-daro. This civilization is also called Bronze Civilization because they had knowledge about bronze technology. It can be said that chemistry might have also developed at this time. Forts, houses, baths, road shows development of civil engineering. The development of textile and shipping shows that the mechanical engineering system has been hauling in India. Now about the education system about ancient India, we will see that at the time of Harappan civilization, as we seen that Harappan civilization has developed very well town planning. They had very high town planning. This it can be said because there was higher education at that time. Technical education was also provided to them. So in India, since 4000 years ago, this all things were been started early at the early age only, in the ancient times only. And we can also find some of the remains from Mohenjo-daro also. So this civilization is also called Bronze Civilization. Why they is called Bronze Civilization? Because they have learned about the bronze technology at that time. Chemistry was also there at that time. Engineering was also there, and so because of that only all these forts, houses, baths, all this road development have been built very well at that time. Remains of 5 Vidyapits imparting education which can be called universities presently have been found. Takshila near Gandhar region in northwestern India was a great educational pilgrimage. It taught ethics, Sanskrit, grammar, astronomy and astrology, Hinduism and philosophy. Great philosopher and ruler like Pinani, Chanakya, Chandragupta, Jivika had been renowned from this educational institution. Now there were Vidyapits. These Vidyapits were known as universities, and they are still today found also. Takshila in Gandhar, near Gandhar region, in that educational institution, ethics were taught, Sanskrit, grammar, astronomy and astrology, Hinduism and philosophy was been taught by the great philosophers. Who were the teachers at that time? The Pinani, Chanakya, Chandragupta, Jivik. These were the philosophers. One such educational institution in Bihar was known as Nalanda University Vidyapit. Huinsang has also visited it. Here also Hindu and Buddha philosophy was taught. Nagarjun of Nalanda Vidyapit was a great chemist. He started using ash of mercury as medicine for the first time. Now we can find one of the institutional in Bihar also, that is known as Nalanda University, which is known as Vidyapit. Now, Hunsang, who has visited India, he has also visited this Nalanda University. In fact, he had learned in that university for 5 years. Right? We have seen this thing before. I have told you. Hindu and Buddha philosophy was also taught over there. And Nagarjun, who was a great chemist in Vidyapit, Nalanda Vidyapit, he started using ash. Ash matlab rakh as mercury as medicine for the first time. There are evidence that there was a great Vidyapit in Vallabhi of Gujarat in 6th 7th century. Hunsang has written a lot regarding this university also. Many students used to come here to study. Students had to give entrance exam for admission. The principal would then take a written examination and later they used to send students for interview. Such a modern educational system was prevalent in India at that time. The knowledge of all three religions, that is Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism, was imparted along with meditation, astrology and astronomy. Now, evidence means what? Proof. There is a proof regarding this Vidyapit in Vallabhi of Gujarat in 6th 7th century. Hunsang was visited, as I told, he studied there for 5 years also. He has written many things regarding this university. Many students have learned from this university, but in fact they have to give entrance exam to go in that university. Then principal would again take a written exam of them and they were sent for interviews also. So this was the process one child used to get the admission in that university. Such a modern educational system was going at that time also, right? So all the three languages should be known, followed by meditation, astrology and astronomy. In Bengal, two Vidyapits existed, namely Vikramshila and Antapuri, where a large three-storied library of Buddhism was built. So, in Bengal, two Vidyapits existed. That was Vikramshila and Antapuri, where there were Teen Male ki library was also there. So, this was all about the educational system in ancient India. Coins. Coins are an important source to know about prosperity of Indians in the past. Oldest coin in India known as Panchmak coin of 5th century BC. Afterwards, Indo-Greek rulers introduced a special kind of gold coin on which the king marks his photo and his time was mentioned. From this we learn about the history of that time. The coins of Gupta age are the best. Now coins. You must have seen पुराने ज़माने के coins. This shows the prosperity of India, right? The oldest coin of India was Panchmak, which was made at the 5th century BC. After that, Indo-Greek rulers introduced their new coin, that was gold coin, on which king's mark, राजा का फोटो होता था, उसका नाम, टाइम और समय सब कुछ होता था on that coin. And coins of Gupta age were considered to be the best. Samudragupta's coin with his picture of playing veena and killing lion, coin of Chandragupta with picture of king and queen and Garuda, Chandragupta II coin, and C. Vikrams and Garud flag coins have been found in large numbers. So these were the coins. In this way they have been made, with playing veena, killing lion, king and queen ka photo with Garuda, on all these things were there on the coins. These coins are mostly of gold, which gives information about India's immense prosperity of that time. If you have visited any museum, in the museum you must have seen such kind of coins. They have been kept, which the kings used to use in ancient times. The consistent development of India has been taking place for centuries. Almost all branches of knowledge are flourishing and developing in our country. India's great cultural heritage is unique throughout the world. So, with this only we can come to know that India is having a great knowledge, great flourished knowledge, development, all has been continued still today. Development has been done from the ancient time only. All this thing has been developed in our India. So this shows the great development of our Indian culture throughout the world, and our cultural heritage is also unique in India, which shows very great respect toward throughout the world. So this was all about the chapter that is Glory of Bharatvarsha. I hope you all have understood very well. Thank you, students.